wait, I forgot to do the 3 claps. Fuck off.
What is that? So you know where to like start?
Yeah, so I know where to sync up the audio for all, or the video with the audio.
Cool.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another week of This Week in Pickleball. I'm Rafa.
I'm Aaron.
And here we go. All right, Aaron, so we have very little to talk about today. For any of y'all wondering, paddles that are evidently absent from the pile that will hopefully be here soon, the Sipik Triton 3, the paddle of choice of Wang Yung, QD, C45s, the new C45s from Franklin are on the way, the Holbrook Armas are on the way.
Okay,
I think those are the 3 big ones that y'all will probably want to know about, but don't have in my possession quite yet. So we're gonna talk about some other stuff today. Just real quick, burn through this. Let's start it off here. So this is a paddle that's been out for a little while already. This is the Flik Gen 3 from Body Helix. Now, noticeably, there is a USAP approval sticker missing. That is because when I had it, it was not USAP approved. It now is. Aaron, what did you think about, you made a comment about this paddle and its overall construction and how it felt. What did it feel like to you just before we started playing?
I said that edge guard looks super cheap.
Okay.
And I thought that the paddle itself felt kind of cheap. But then when I actually hit it, I was like, oh, just kidding. It's super solid. I think it gives off a cheaper appearance because if you look at the edge guard down here, the edge guard isn't actually fully covered all the way. Something about this light blue looks a little bit extra plasticky.
Sure.
And you like the grip. I didn't like the grip.
I love the grip. The grip reminds me of the grip on the Adidas paddles, not in terms of feel because the Adidas was like one-piece construction, so it felt a little bit different, but in terms of cushion and in terms of just how it fit into my hands, you can't really feel the bevels very well, but it just feels very comfortable. I will say it's a little bit on the thicker side.
It is a fat grip.
It's a fat grip, so putting an over grip on that is going to be too much for somebody with small hands.
I'll say that probably stock right now, it feels 4 1/4, closer to 4 3/8.
Yeah.
So with an over grip, it's definitely 4 3/8.
Minimum, yeah, 4.3, 4.5 even for some grips. So yeah, it doesn't stand up well on its own. This is a pet peeve, a reviewer pet peeve of mine. There we go. But yeah, no, so, I'm just gonna hold it.
Yep.
So yeah, the reason why I like this paddle so much is purely based on, it's not a power paddle, definitely leans very solidly all court. The sweet spot is huge. I really, really think that this whole face felt like a sweet spot. You made a comment, the resets, the anything from the midcourt really, and then shot selection was really easy just because the sweet spot is massive.
Could not miss.
Could not miss.
Couldn't put a ball away, but I could not miss.
You'll never miss the court, but you'll never win the point off of your overhead or drive using this paddle. It's definitely...
No, I mean, it wasn't that soft, but it was, it's like in comparison, it's definitely, I would say it's softer than all court. Like it's all court, but
leaning
on the lower
control.
Leaning control as opposed to all court leaning power, which is most of the paddles we've
100%
kind of talked about.
100%. Yeah, fully agree. Yeah, so not winning any points from the baseline, but you are going to be very solidly consistent with this. So if you are a right side princess to anybody in your life, then this is a setup paddle. This is how you set up somebody else for success, is using this paddle. The construction is technically Gen 3. It's just it's a floating core, but it's a much more dense foam around the sides, which is probably why the power isn't all there. I haven't confirmed, but it also could be because the core goes all the way to the edges through the foam, as opposed to a true floating core. It will have more, it won't go all the way to the edge. It'll just stop at the foam, like maybe an inch away. So I liken this more to what Ace was going for with the Heart paddle, and where Pickleball Apes was with their foam channel. It's Gen 3, but it's just not power oriented. So the price on this bad boy is $180.
Ooh.
A little high.
I would not use this at 180.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that this felt more like a standard shape paddle, even though I guess technically it was a little bit longer than a standard shape paddle, but it definitely feels like a standard shape paddle with how large the sweet spot was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so Fat Boy, they're in a similar range, although I do think the Fat Boy is the cheaper of the two. I put this, because I liked how it played still very much, I think slight discount on this you would get it. Like if this was 150, then you would be...
I said 135.
You said 135. For me, I think at 150, if you're, again, the demographic that we're describing, the people that are a little bit more control, ball placement oriented over power, I don't think you're disappointed with 150 on this. If you are, and you're still going to get it, your disappointment goes down around that rate, around your range.
I would say, like, if you're like a 3-0, 3-5 player, you won't be disappointed with this paddle.
Yeah.
I think if you are higher, you're probably looking for a little bit more.
More offense.
A little bit more offense, or a little bit more texture, a little bit more spin.
A little more spin, yeah.
That's my pet peeve. I love spin, I love grit, I love texture.
That you do. Yeah, for sure. So...
But it felt nice.
It felt nice. It felt good. Just not offering a lot in terms of offense, but very solid. All right. So next, this one I liked a lot.
Same.
So this is the J2H from Honolulu Pickleball. It is constructed with the same shit. Yeah, Aaron's from Hawaii, for anybody that doesn't know that. Probably none of you know that. We've never talked about that. Not a single time.
Aloha.
Aloha. Aaron's from Hawaii. He was from, but before Honolulu Pickleball was a thing. So, still making really great stuff here. I feel like they've come out with 17,000 paddles since last year. It's nuts. They have every single paddle, every single shape, whatever. This is just the newest addition to the Plus series because, again, EVA floating core, same hybrid shape as the J2K, but raw carbon fiber face. They have pluses for now Kevlar, PET, and then now raw carbon fiber. How did you feel about this one?
I enjoyed this paddle a lot.
Yeah.
Would buy. I really also like the stock grip size. You can feel the bevels. It's really nicely pronounced, and it's not too square. Yeah, it's just an overall solid build. Good texture on the face. Ball came off nice and plush.
Yeah.
It's a different feeling because what you said was foam core.
Yeah, it's EVA floating.
Yeah, but it wasn't overpowering. I would still say higher end of all court, leaning low power, but I felt solid.
Yeah, I power tested this one this week. I think it ended probably between 70 and 75th percentile power, which is, exactly where I would describe it. Definitely all court leaning low power for sure. I enjoyed this a lot as well. I think that the sweet spot was nice and large. None of the floating core paddles really achieve. So I'm thinking about this in comparison to other paddles that Honolulu has made. The J2K for me definitely base model still has the largest sweet spot. I think the whole floating core concept gives you, this goes for any of them, for 11624, for this. What else is floating core out there? The SLK Era, which is another paddle that should hopefully be on the way soon.
The Vesper. They all give you dead spots around the edges, but as long as you don't hit the foam channel, everything else feels nice and plush and large, so definitely doesn't detract from how well it played. I felt like the power was pretty effortless from the baseline, and like you mentioned, just not overpowering, but I like the balance point as well. It didn't feel too head heavy or anything. It felt pretty balanced.
I agree. It felt natural in the swing overall. So essentially, if you really liked where you were at with a paddle like the J2K, something similar to it, a an Ape's Pulse, a Chorus Shapeshifter, things of that nature that are all court, super plush, very forgiving paddles, but you want that step up in power, then this, honestly, I honestly take this over the TI and the K Plus.
Yeah, I didn't like those ones as much
Yeah.
because I think I like the raw carbon fiber or the CFC layups more than I like the Kevlar layups.
Yeah, those are just a little bit, they orient more towards pop than they do towards power. They don't give you as much give as a carbon fiber face does, which I think adds to that power somewhat significantly. It's noticeable. So I think, you know, in terms of if I had to put these in order, if you're at the base model, the K, if you want a slight bump up in power, but definitely more noticeable increase in pop, then you go TI or K. I don't think those are pretty interchangeable. But if you want the opposite, basically, not too incredibly poppy at the kitchen, but still good enough to, you know, have those sort of block type dinks like J-Dub does on his left side, right? If you want that, but you actually want something that's more noticeably increased in power, then the H Plus. And I don't recall the price on this. I don't think Jam told us, but I do think it's probably going to be the same range, like the 170 range.
Yeah.
I'd buy that at retail, especially.
Same.
Yeah, especially with like discount code bringing it down to 150.
And then the one thing that's
Solid.
nice about like Honolulu Pickleball Company, right? I don't know if they're still doing it, but they have like a refresh kind of program for. I think their warranty is like 3 months, right?
Yeah.
But if you break the paddle within that or after, you can send the paddle in and get 2 new ones at like 50% off.
Yeah.
So you're essentially getting 3 paddles for the price of 2, which is honestly not terrible, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Because you can get the 2 ones from the refresh, and you continue to play with the broken one until somebody calls you out on it at a tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
So easy money. Yeah, easily recommendable paddle right here.
Yes, for
More fire from Honolulu.
Oh yeah.
All right, so now we get to the stuff that everybody is excited for.
Ronbus.
So I put out the video this past week, just my pre-break-in thoughts here on these ripples. Now, we went ahead and I used my top secret methods, which I will talk about soon in a Mythbusters episode. They don't stand up either. Gosh dang it. Oh, no, they do. They do. Wait. Okay, so use my methods of break-in to get these to the break-in point partially because they were almost there, but I felt like they just needed that little extra push over. What did you think?
Had to take the next step.
Had to just take the next step. Yeah. Foreshadowing. But what did you think? So which was your favorite shape before we fully broke them in?
Before we touched any of them, I was like, this is going to be my favorite shape because I played with the alpha and the beta of the ripples.
Yes.
And I always kind of liked this hybrid-y elongated shape. But then I got this one, I was like, the swing weight is really high.
Really high.
Yeah.
Yeah. Increased by, I think, 10 points over the original. It's 124. It was 116, but it's high.
Yep. So then my favorite, I think, pre-break-in.
Yeah.
Probably the this one, the R4 shape. So they're like hybrid-y, tapered neck, short. I don't know what it is.
It's hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid. But I like that one, I think, the most pre-break-in.
Yeah, same here. I was very disappointed in the R2 because it still had the largest sweet spot stock out of all of these. All of these need weight. All of these need weight like this arena right here, all of them. I don't know if that would have changed if they had gone straight channels down, but I'm assuming there's a reason why they didn't. PV Court. So I was disappointed in the R2 because it did have the largest sweet spot, but it is also significantly heavier than the original R2 was. Part of the appeal, and I talked about this at the end of my video, was the main appeal of the ripples was low swing weight, high power, and high spin.
Yeah.
These paddles still have really good spin. They all get close to 2300, which is pretty high. They are lacking in the power and hand speed department compared to where the original was.
I mean, the power isn't that much lacking. right? I would say it's more the fact that you have to now generate that power, and it's harder to generate because the paddle is heavier. So you have to swing harder.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, to get the same type of plow through on the ball.
Yeah. Fair distinction. Fair distinction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely have biased thoughts just because I can always compare it to the original in my head. So in terms of where the OGs were, and I'm not just talking the alpha beta, even the release and the release and production, the Ripple just got hotter and hotter as we got closer to the release model. It is definitely lacking in power in comparison to those. However, overall, in terms of power, still quite high.
Yeah. I would say if you never hit one of the original Ronbus paddles and this was the first paddle of it you try, you'd be like, oh, these are definitely competitors against the new JOOLA paddles.
Yeah, for sure,
right?
for sure.
But if you are comparing it to what could have been, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's just not the same thing.
Yeah, so like OG Ripple owners who were hoping that Ronbus would find a way to make really small tweaks in order to just bring it back and have it play similarly would be disappointed. But overall, if you're looking for a really, really solid competitor, like you mentioned, to everything else that's up there with the JOOLAs, with 11.624 in terms of power specifically, then these are they're definitely still there. They're definitely still some of the best. Important note here, we have USAP label and PB Core 43 certified labels on them. Now, some OG owners will have PTSD because we had PB Core certified labels on the release models too.
Yep.
But we have a joint statement and from Dong Lee, owner of Ronbus, and from USA Pickleball, stating that they work together, that these are going to remain legal, blah, blah, blah. If you're an OG owner, again, something else I talked about, if you want to go watch the previous video that I did, go ahead. It was just released a couple days ago, but I go check out the statement, because if you are an OG owner and can have proof of purchase, then they have their own refresh program going on to get these at a discount as well, which I think a lot of y'all will be interested in. Again, as long as you're not expecting what they were. So that was all pre-break-in. Now, and everything when we're talking about in terms of power, probably slightly under JOOLA and under 11.624. Yeah. They felt a little bit. I made this comment multiple times. It felt like hitting and sounded like you were hitting like a wood plank. Like the sweet spots for me, especially on the R1, that sweet spot size was tiny. Now, after I broke them in, what changed for you?
It became much more of a pleasant feeling. I felt like you could feel the ball give a little bit more on the surface of the paddle. Like the dwell time was a little bit longer. It was definitely a much softer feeling. But because, I guess, with the break-in period, the paddle got a little bit hotter, it became significantly more effort to reset a ball when power was being given to you. Like if you're hitting a reset and the person you're hitting is hitting like, a medium-paced ball and you block, resets feel fine. But if someone's really like trying to crush the ball at you and you're trying to just like block, it's really hard to absorb power with this paddle.
100%, yeah. So when you say softer, you mean that not in terms of power, but in terms of how it receives, like the plush dwellness.
Yeah, so I would say like how long, the dwell time essentially.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Like ball compression into the paddle. I felt like it probably went this order here. So in terms of the abilities to reset, this was the easiest, and then it went this way.
Yeah.
In difficulty.
For sure. So definitely I agree. So pretty much kind of corresponds with face area, like sweet spot size, right? The R2 post break-in, which again, I called it. Somebody in the comments of my original video said that Ronbus tested these paddles and that they weren't supposed to break in. I think every company in an ideal world would test their paddle and hope it doesn't break in, but I knew pretty much off the bat that was going to happen, so these definitely have one. But I agree. The way that they receive the ball is different. The weight modifications in my mind, where it kind of needs it in the sort of throat to bottom corner area, was not only to increase the sweet spot size, but also to kind of hopefully bring that more pleasant feeling, like have a little bit more ball vibration absorption, to have a more plush.
It was very pingy
feeling.
in the very pre-break-in. Is very pingy.
Pingy, 100%.
I don't know if that's a way to describe something.
It's definitely not a technical word, but we're going to use it anyway.
Yeah.
And I agree 100%. And post break-in, definitely more plush, definitely more power. I'm gonna have to re-power test these. Nothing completely insane. Like probably still not where the production Ripple was. Because with that, again, you're probably body bagging people from the baseline with the production Ripple, and every single thing from a power aspect is completely effortless. But with these, they did heat up, but they didn't get to where they were in the past.
But you did say at one point it looked like I wasn't trying to hit a drop, and my ball was just going to the kitchen and I was barely swinging. So I mean, again, these are still power paddles.
They're very power paddles, yeah. I think pre-break-in they were 89th percentile on average power. I would definitely put these higher up, more into that like 95, 96 area, which makes them competitive with broken-in YOLAs, 11.624s, et cetera, et cetera. Those other almost floating core-esque power paddles that are out there. Yeah, they're much nicer post-break, and I'm much more high on them. I really think the only thing holding them back is the swing weight aspect. I think that I theorize that the foam core density has increased, which is part of what is causing them to just feel heavier, more top heavy. The balance point. The R2 was my baby for a month or two because it was literally headlight.
Now it's head heavy.
Now it's head heavy, and by a lot more than most standard shape probably all standard shape paddles are. I think it leaned 1.5 inches head heavy, which is pretty high.
Yeah.
So I'm sad to see that, but overall,
Still a good paddle.
still a very nice
I don't
paddle.
think you'll be disappointed if you purchase it.
Yes. Now, keeping the price in mind at we'll say $260. Gosh damn it, I'm just gonna have to hold this one. $260. That's post discount code.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
The one thing that I really liked about Ronbus originally was that all of their paddles used to be incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
Right? Like their original R shapes, the first, cutout paddles that they came out with,
Yeah.
$90.
Easy.
Right? Those things were great too.
Yeah.
They also had a lot of grit.
They did.
Really spinny.
They were really nice.
Then they came out with the Pulsar.
Was the Pulsar next?
Yeah. And that Pulsar I think was around the was it
120, 130?
It was either 120 or 180. I don't remember. But anyways, you could always get them for like 150.
Yeah,
around
for
there.
less.
Good paddle. Again, but they would also core crush
Yeah.
D-Lam. Then they came out with the Nova, and then the Nova,
Super soft.
super soft, not much power, but solved core crushing and D-Lam.
Yes.
Right, with like the tech that they had through the sides. So
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's a good paddle as well.
The carbon grid tech.
Yeah, and then they came out with was it the Pulsar RX or something?
FX.
FX. I think that one was at 180.
Yes.
And so then to go from 180 to the next model here, which is at 280, I feel like that's such a steep jump.
It's a steep jump. It really is.
Yeah, so I think if these were priced 220 with discount, or like starting at 250, ending at 220 or something, I would buy these over. I would try and sell these to every single person playing YOLA,
Sure.
because I think better bang for your buck. But at 280, you're competing with YOLA.
That's the big. So yeah,
It's
here's
still a really good paddle. It does compete with those paddles. I think these will last longer than the YOLAs. But again, it's hard because the name recognition just isn't as prominent.
Okay, so let's say I think the R1 by far is the shape that both of us like the least. So let's keep this aside here. Let's look at this. Let's say I'm coming to you, yes or no, do I buy this or do I buy a Pro IV Hyperion?
It's hard because I've never bought a Pro IV Hyperion, and I have bought one of these. So
So I guess that's kind of a testament in its own right. That's the decision for you. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for a hybrid paddle and you're looking for the level of power spin that a true power paddle can provide, I might be with you in that camp just based on the Hyperions that I've tested so far. I think that the R4 is a better choice than the Hyperion.
Yeah.
Now, the question that even more people want to know, are you doing an R2 or are you doing an AB Scorpius?
I'm doing an R2.
Really?
Yeah.
I disagree.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But so that's the thing. I have initial biases coming into it because I've always recommended paddles that were better bang for your buck, and for me that was still Ronbus over JOOLA because I always felt that JOOLAs used to break and they had quality control issues.
Yeah, that's fair.
From the very, very beginning when the Hyperions came out, to handle snapping, quickly delamming or quickly core crushing, or edge guards always coming off. Right, I had a hard time getting past that and recommending those to people that I would coach.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't trust that initial quality control.
That's fair.
And for these, even if they would break at some point when I was looking at the Pulsars, I'd be like, hey, it's fine. You spent $100 on it, or $120 on it, just buy another one,
Yeah.
And it would only happen after 4 to 5 months of playing, and that's a pretty long time when originally I would play with a JOOLA and,
Right.
a month in.
Sure. So your decision comes from a place of durability concerns.
Durability concerns, but also history of the paddle making from conception to where it's at now.
Okay.
Price-wise, I'm not pleased with the price increase, but I understand why, because if you think about all of the tech going into it, right, and the process of how many paddles it took to even get this paddle to actually be released to market,
Yeah.
I get it,
Yeah.
right? Which is the only reason why I would pick this over a Scorpius.
Okay. Yeah. So it's durability concerns, the history that's there. That makes a lot of sense because I think there is a lot of consumer distrust in JOOLA, especially because of last year. I think they resolved a lot, but not all of those issues. I think you can still, the Pro 4s are the most durable paddle they've made. Well, Gen 2s aside, and Gen 1s obviously, but they still crush quickly. I'm with you there. I think purely because this doesn't use polypropylene, which for anybody who doesn't know, polypropylene is really it's hard plastic. That's what it is.
It's going to degrade.
Hard plastic is going to degrade. It's not meant to flex in the way that a foam paddle is made to. So, or power paddles are being made to. So using foam is inherently a better decision than using polypropylene. And I really like what Ronbus has done to do that, achieve this level of power. Reminds me a lot of Gearbox, reminds me a lot of Adidas, etc. So yeah, in the end, for me, the reason why I say JOOLA is because these were a super easy recommendation when they had those three major factors, when it was a high power, high spin, and big sweet spot paddle. High power, high spin, big sweet spot, and lower cost, lower hands, and better hand speed. It was just, that paddle was going to be the most popular thing that had ever been launched, ever. Where it's at right now, the JOOLA, because now they're in the same price range, I think it might have been released at $280 before also, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's in the fact that it's in the same price range. It has lower swing weight, it has higher swing weight, so less hand speed, and is in a similar league in terms of power.
Yeah, so that makes sense as well.
It puts me back in that camp, and the durability is definitely a major component for some people. I will say that even though these paddles did break in, I hear nothing in terms of no type of crushing whatsoever, and hit these for over a week. We have history of other paddles, cough Adidas, that crushed in less than a week. So the durability concern isn't there for me. And if durability matters, I think that's really what it comes down to. For your purposes, durability puts this over AB Scorpius. I would agree with that. But I think from an overall playability perspective, the plushness and the dwell time and just the overall comfort that you have on a Scorpius versus this, the fact that they are in the same price range brings me back to JOOLA.
Okay, so what if this paddle was 5 points lighter in swing weight?
Bam, this right here. This thing. Yeah.
So if you have concrete slow hands, play with the Scorpius. If you got faster hands, Ronbus.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Somebody said that they got an R2 that was 113 or 114, so it could be production variability. It also is not uncommon for a company to get feedback like this from people. What the heck just happened?
I don't know.
Sorry, the whole floor just rumbled underneath us. Probably somebody closing a door. It's not uncommon. Gearbox did this when they got initial reviewer feedback. They took down the swing. They saw swing it was still high and they brought it down a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Ronbus goes back to the drawing board and sees that they can't do the same thing with these. So if they were to do that, then yeah, I still think the sweet spot on the JOOLAs is bigger, but it really comes down to a combination of hand speed and plushness, and I think most people would prioritize hand speed over that plush feeling, because it still gets great spin regardless.
But then if you want hand speed, right?
Yeah.
This shape.
Yeah, there we go.
R4.
That overall is the most recommendable in its current state over the competition.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. All right there. Well, I did want to do a deep dive into the next topic, but I feel like we had a lot of fun and just really deep dive into these today. So
yeah, we didn't plan on it. We only planned on talking briefly about the Ronbus, but then I didn't realize I had so much history.
Yeah, so many thoughts gone into this. It's taken so much to bring this to market, which you also kind of have to respect from the price perspective. This is one of the first paddles that a significant portion of people are going to remember when it started in development, when it was about to come out, and now that it's really about to come out. It really gives you perspective, because other brands like Carbon, which again, I'm not saying they didn't, but behind the scenes, they're like, we spent 18 months developing this. The consumer was never a part of that journey. Mm-hmm. The consumer has been a part of pretty much every single part of the journey of bringing this to market, which is really cool. But yeah, in the end, we had a lot of thoughts on this. So with that in mind, the next topic was going to be Nerdy Tourney. So for any of you who don't know, Bread and Butter is going to be hosting a Nerdy Tourney, pretty much inviting 28 reviewers and content creators out to Florida later this month in order to see who is the best, see whose reviews you can trust the most, essentially. And I did want to talk about the teams, because those have already been formed and things like that. But for today, I'm just going to leave you guys with that teaser. We will talk about that next time. All that I will reveal for today is who was chosen to be my partner in the tournament. Aaron sadly couldn't come with me. They probably wouldn't have even paired us together, which I'm happy about, because you're a significantly better player. But my chosen player for this tournament, which I'm very excited about, is the one, the only...
What's up, guys? There.
The one, the only Christopher Olsen from the Pickleball Studio. I'm obviously pumped about that. All of it, everybody who sees those videos is gonna be like, "Oh my God, you played with Chris Olsen!" And everybody who watches me on Chris's channel is gonna be like, "Chris, who the fuck is that guy that you're playing with?" Like, This is going to benefit me way more than it's going to benefit Chris. He not only is a higher duper, but he also has the bigger audience. Yeah. I couldn't be happier. But no, Chris is awesome. We have a history. We're buddies. We've met at other creator events. Really good guy. He puts on the 3-5 persona really well, but he's gotten significantly better.
He's not a 3-5.
He is no longer a 3-5.
I watched his last match that he posted online.
U.S. Open?
Yeah, with U.S. Open. I was like, dude, he's cooking.
He's a good player. Yeah, he's solid. I'm going to be his right side princess for the weekend. So we'll see. And so next week we'll talk about other teams, kind of give our thoughts on where those teams might line up. And then I'll also reveal what paddle I'm going to be playing with. They all have to be bread and butter paddles. Marketing. And I'll reveal my setup for that paddle at that time. So that is going to take care of it for us today. Let's go ahead and head out here, Aaron. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below any thoughts, on anything, and the paddles, me partnering. How bad do you think I'm going to weigh down Chris during the nerdy tourney? And then, of course, we'll bring you that tier list next week. So with all that being said, I hope you all stay happy and healthy, and of course, out on the courts until the next one. Peace.
Peace.
And that's that.
We didn't talk about Chex Mix.
We didn't talk about Chex Mix.
That's okay.
It blows. Everybody knows that.
No, it does not.
Chex Mix fucking sucks.
Chex Mix is good.
It blows, especially
Probably not over Cheez-Its, but Chex Mix is good.
Yeah, I was going to say, you try to compare it to Cheez-Its. Don't do that. Don't do that to Cheez-Its.